What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the PFF NFL YouTube channel and another best ball draft here, powered by our friends over at DraftKings. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That's Nathan Jahnke here for round two, or just another live best ball draft that we have here on the channel. Very excited about this one. Nate, I think we did our first one. What was this? About a month and a half ago. So,
Yep.
we got our first one out of the way. We feel good about it. I'm not going to lie. I went back and I looked at it. I still feel good about that one, but we're here for another one. How do you feel, my friend? Now, I got to ask you this genuinely, because we are, 1-2 weeks away from the season kicking off. And I got to know, how many drafts have you done? How many mock drafts have you done? Are we up to the thousands at this point with you, and how many reps you've gotten at this point?
We're definitely in the double digits in terms of actual drafts where I have teams in the season, plenty more mock drafts. I have a number of drafts going on right now, have all of them out of the way. If I'm on the clock, they're going to have to wait for me right now, but I've got plenty of drafts going on currently as well.
I used to not love like the slow play drafts, as they call it, where you just have a lot of time and the draft's kind of ongoing for a couple of days, maybe a week. I used to be the person who was like, no, one night we're getting this thing done. And now I've come to appreciate both sides of things. I like both. And I have some earlier in the summer that are a little bit longer format. A lot of those are dynasty format stuff, but it's all in good fun. So if you're a fantasy football player out there at all whatsoever, or if you are brand new to best ball and you're trying to learn, well, this is a great place to have a little bit of a hands-on experience here for you. What Nathan and I are going to do is we're going to join a DraftKings best ball lobby and pool that you guys can do over at DraftKings as well. We're going to be drafting the team. We're going to be walking you through it. We're going to be talking about all different types of strategies. There's a lot of buzzwords that we hear when it comes to best ball that might be a little bit different than fantasy football. Stacking is a term that everybody uses, where you're trying to get multiple players of a certain team on there. Obviously, you got running back strategies that are very different from person to person, depending on who you ask. But Nate, I'm excited about this one. So walk us through exactly what best ball is, how it makes it a little bit different than, I would say, fantasy football that people normally picture when they think about that game, and what makes best ball a lot of fun, and some of the things that we're going to be focusing on here today.
So best ball is different in that you just draft the team. You don't have to worry about setting your lineup. You don't have to worry about who you should be playing. You don't have to worry about waivers. You just get to do the fun part of the draft. I'm going to let you take it over for a second, though, because my screen that's sharing our draft disappeared, so I'm going to have to fix that right now.
Okay, all right, I'll take over for you. We got to make sure that we get that pulled up. You guys can see all this over at DraftKings as well. Go check out DraftKings, check out Best Ball, do some research. Obviously, we're giving you some hands-on research right here, but the last draft that we did, so this is about a month and a half ago. I remember we were picking 12th, so we were picking 12th out of the 12 teams, and we'll join a lobby once we get that kind of back up. And it's not
got
instant.
it going again.
Okay, so I see it there. So if you want to enter in the draft, we could actually do that, and then we could kind of talk about it here, because it's
Sure.
not always a guarantee that starts right away. It's something that you might have to wait a little bit to make sure that the lobby fills out. But there's a lot of different pools that you could check out when it comes to DraftKings. Different roster sizes, different sorts of games, different sorts of prizes. So there's a lot of different ways to play it. We're going to try to walk you through it as best we can to make you as confident as a best ball player as you could be heading into the season. But Nate, I remember we were picking 12th last time, and I don't know if we have our certain spot here right now, but I liked the 12 back-to-back strategy. It gave us some good conversation, but I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of hoping we have something a little bit closer to the top of the draft order this time, so we can get a little bit of a different strategy. But as you've kind of gone through this year, you do your own fantasy rankings. We can see those with the best ball rankings as well that you do specifically there. Have you felt like, okay, this year I like picking at the front more than I like picking at the back, maybe more picking in the middle? Do you have a preference at this point?
Right now, early in the draft is where I'm liking at the moment, because you're able to get one of those top 5 players. And I will say that it looks like our draft has filled up.
There we go.
But
what do we got?
we are picking later in the draft. We are pick 8. We are picking 8.
Okay, so a little bit different. A little bit
draft. Yeah.
Little bit earlier. We're picking 8th. We were picking 12th last time. So this is good. We will get to talk about strategy, and I will give you a second to think about the strategy that we might have here. Take a look at your rankings and talk about some of the guys that could be the options at 8, and then of course at the turn as well. But before we get to that, I got to tell people, look, football season is right around the corner. There is no better way to lock in your fantasy dominance early than with best ball on DraftKings, just like we are doing right now, where you draft once and you ride that roster all season long. Right now, DraftKings is giving all customers a can't miss offer. Draft one, get one. Basically, you enter a lineup in the 15 million best ball contest for just $20, and you'll score another best ball ticket to play for free for a share of that 15 million, giving you a second shot to win big. It's easy. You just draft your team once. No weekly management is required. You let the top scorers automatically start every single week across the whole season. Every breakout star, every clutch play, every touchdown will count towards your quest for that share of 15 million. Obviously, what we did last time, which I liked, a little bit of stacking. We got some stacking involved there. We got Trevor Lawrence, we got Brian Thomas Jr. Very excited about that pairing. We drafted Drake London at the turn at the beginning of the second round. Last time we did this, we didn't get Michael Penix. I kind of wanted that, but those are some combos that we're talking about here. We'll talk about some of the options that we have during this draft as well. You guys can download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app now to draft your $20 best ball lineup to play for that share of 15 million, and you get a second ticket to play for free and a share of that 15 million as well. That's 2 chances to win big without ever setting your lineup again. Draft one, get one, only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or just text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problems with gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most eligible states, but age does vary by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Entry to the best ball 15 million headliner contest by September 4th of this year, of course. To get 1 bonus entry involved, $20 entry fee is required. Reward expires in 30 days. See terms at DraftKings.com/NFL-bestball. Sponsored, of course, by DraftKings. All right, we're picking 8th. How do you feel about picking 8th? Are we on the clock, or is the clock?
We are not. So the clock isn't going, which I'm a little surprised by, but
okay.
Now we are on the clock. So we had a lot of players that we expect to go early.
Okay.
Puka Nacua is the top guy on my board, followed by Christian McCaffrey. So those are probably the 2 that I would consider here. Generally like wide receivers better a little early in best ball drafts because I like to get a lot of wide receivers early, but are you good with Puka Nacua?
I'm good with Puka Nacua. They're going to give that dude the ball no matter what, whether it's Matthew Stafford, whether it's Jimmy Garoppolo, whether it's Stetson Bennett, the mailman himself. They're throwing the ball to Puka Nacua. We know that that's going to happen no matter what, as long as he is healthy. And I like a little bit of a different strategy here. So you talked about liking to go wide receiver, when we are sort of at the back half of the draft. Do you still like that here, even though we're not picking 12 and we got that back-to-back?
It'll just depend on how these other picks go. It'll either be wide receiver, or wide receiver, running back. There's a couple of running backs that I like at the top of the second round. It was just there's like these 8 wide receivers that all have a pretty good case of being the top overall wide receiver this year. Yeah. So if I can get 2 of them, I will. But there's also other players like Bucky Irving's near the top of my list. So he's someone I'd consider. We got Brian Thomas Jr. last time. I still like him this time, so I wouldn't mind getting him twice in a row.
I was going to say, if he's on the board here and we come back on the clock, I know we picked him last time, but I feel we kind of got to do it at that point, you know?
Yeah, like if you are someone who likes to do a whole lot of drafts, it makes sense to diversify your lineups a little bit more. But since we are just doing the 2 drafts together, I am perfectly fine having a little bit of overlap between the 2 drafts that we're doing. And Thomas Jr. is the top guy on my board. Irving's after that, AJ Brown, Devin Achane. Those are the guys that I would consider in this range.
They took Brian Thomas Jr.
They just took Brian Thomas Jr. So for me, I would either go Bucky Irving or AJ Brown. Trey McBride is someone that I'd start to consider in this range, but because we can hopefully get George Kittle in the next round, I'm a little bit more okay waiting at tight end. But do you have a preference between Bucky Irving and AJ Brown?
I think Bucky Irving is just going to have so much production this year. The Bucks the Bucks love him. Like he is going to like all the goal lines. So I know they got a plethora of weapons to be able to throw the ball to, but even in the receiving game, like Bucky Irving is absolutely going to be a major factor for them there. As long as he is healthy, this guy is going to get the rock a lot. And so I like diversifying a little bit there with running back and wide receiver, knowing how much those guys are getting volume there. Can I ask you who some of your favorite stacking pairings have been this year as you've sort of done best ball drafts and even into, what people think is of regular fantasy football leagues, like the traditional leagues? Have you found pairings and stackings with quarterbacks and wide receivers that you continue to gravitate towards? We've talked a lot about Brian Thomas Jr. and Trevor Lawrence, so I got to imagine that's one of them, right?
Oh yeah, the Jacksonville one is definitely one. Minnesota as well. Really like what JJ McCarthy can do this year. So if I can get Justin Jefferson early, definitely want to stack him with McCarthy there. The Atlanta ones, I know that's one we talked about last time. Really like Drake London this year. Really like what Michael Penix can do.
Yeah.
And then one that I'm going to try doing a little bit more is with Indianapolis. Now that Daniel Jones is the starting quarterback there, I think there's more options that he can throw to. He is better at making shorter passes, and that's what a lot of the Colts receivers do well, where Anthony Richardson was more of a deep ball thrower, which was good for Alec Pierce, not as good for everyone else. So if I can get Daniel Jones and some combination of Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, who will hopefully be healthier this year, and then Tyler Warren, who has looked pretty good in the preseason so far. I think that's one that you can easily get, especially if you haven't stacked much early in the draft and are waiting more later in the draft, since all four of those guys are later round picks.
I'm a huge Josh Downs guy. Like, I think that Josh Downs is fantastic. I see Beckett in the chat here. Like, Trevor caping for a Bucks player. Yeah, all right, he's good. All right, there's no bias here. Bucky Irving's good. This is Nate's rankings.
Yeah.
He was the next guy on Nate's rankings, so you can't even call me on that, Beckett. Beckett also said Chris Olave, no matter what. Now, Chris Olave is a very talented wide receiver, and he's graded very well from a PFF standpoint. I think it's the first 3 years that he has been in the league above 80 receiving grade in each of those 3 seasons. Now, he's missed some time due to injury. I think you got to think about that as well. And of course, like the quarterback controversy, sort of. I mean, Tyler Shuck's going to be the starting quarterback, but how much confidence do you have that Tyler Shuck's going to be the guy throughout this entire season? And what does that do to a guy like Chris Olave, in your opinion?
I'm not too concerned about who ends up being quarterback. I think any of them can do fine with Chris Olave. My concerns right now are we're on the clock, so we'll continue this in a second.
Okay.
Jaden Daniels, Kyren
you
Williams, George Kittle are the three on my board.
You said you like Kittle a lot, and we talked about
Yeah.
that a month and a half ago, and we didn't get the chance to draft him. So
We'll
I'm
go
cool with
Kittle
that.
here.
Okay.
I'm going back to Olave. My concern is that in the preseason game, he played almost exclusively out wide. And Kellen Moore's offenses, a lot of that goes through the slot receiver. We've seen it through a couple of different teams now, whether it was CeeDee Lamb, whether it was Keenan Allen, last year Devontae Smith. A.J. Brown was the one exception to that, but A.J. Brown's A.J. Brown. So
Right.
I still like Olave better than consensus in general, but I also don't know how well the offense will do and all those sorts of things.
So walk us through kind of what you're thinking here. What about 6, 7 picks away from our selection? We figure a lot of these guys that are at the very top of the list are probably going to get selected. Do you have a guy that's really sticking out to you that you hope makes it to us?
Garrett Wilson is someone that I like. I think I'll just see a ton of targets this season. Josh Reynolds is the number 2 wide receiver. It looks like Tyler Johnson or Alan Lazard's going to be the number 3 receiver. They have a rookie at tight end. I think he's just going to see a ton of targets. I know that they will run the ball a lot. I know Justin Fields will run the ball a lot. I know not all of the passes will be perfectly accurate, but just by sheer volume, and he has the talent too, so that'll help make up for it a little bit as well.
He just went off the board, but I agree. You know, the people who are in this draft might be watching the show. We didn't think about it. We're giving away the knowledge.
Yeah.
We had Brian Thomas Jr. go right before our pick, and then Garrett Wilson's gone as well. Just saying. They might be stream sniping us here. Okay, with him off the board, how do we feel? We got 2 quarterbacks that are very intriguing here with Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts. One of them is going to be guaranteed to be there because we're 1 pick away.
I would be fine with the quarterback here. I haven't always liked going quarterback tight end early because then it gets a little bit more difficult to get the running backs and wide receivers you're happy with. But I've started to get a little bit more confident about some of the running backs in the 20 to 30 range. Isaiah Pacheco, for example, looks like the clear-cut early down running back for Kansas City. But Jaden Daniels is the top quarterback on my board. I'm not often getting him in the 4th round. We're getting him a couple picks after his ADP, so I'd be happy with Daniels here.
Okay, all right, let's take Daniels. He is, I think, still going to be electric this season. If that second preseason game that we saw against the Cincinnati Bengals is any sort of indication of what he's going to be in his second year in the league, he's going to put up a lot of points, and specifically a lot of rushing points, right? He got that rushing touchdown early in that game. That's obviously an asset for him there. For people out there who might be, learn about best ball, watching this for the first time, talk to me about the strategy when it comes to end of the year, right? Week 16, 17, 18 all of a sudden become really valuable and things that you have to pay attention to in a best ball format because you don't change your roster. You are drafting these guys, and so a little bit of what you have to think about has to go towards who their matchups are in that week 17 and week 18 when you might be playing for the big time prize. So talk to people about the value of that.
Yeah, so this specifically ends in week 17. So week 17 is the important week here. The thing to keep in mind is in a lot of other fantasy football leagues, you are just trying to beat the 11 people in your league or however many people are in your league. This, you are competing against everyone else who is doing these drafts. So you want to make sure that you have both a unique lineup, but also one that in week 17, because that is the championship week, you have an opportunity to score a lot of points. So you consider first off, stacking, which is where you get two players from the same team or more than two players from the same team, because if a wide receiver is having a really good week 17 week, chances are his quarterback is also having a really good week 17 week.
Right.
And then specifically, people consider, okay, who is playing who that week? Because if one team is scoring a lot of points, then the other team is going to have to try scoring a lot of points to catch up. So you want to try getting whoever is going to be in that highest scoring game. Of course, like a game like the Cardinals-Bengals is one that people like a lot because the Bengals have a great offense, the Cardinals have a good offense, the defenses aren't quite as strong, so that game should be have a lot of points. But with that in mind, everyone else also realizes that that game is going to have a lot of points. So everyone else also wants to get players from those teams. So you also want to consider like, hey, maybe some of these other games there'll be a high scoring total, even if people aren't expecting there to be. So you have to have a kind of diverse lineup, try to get something a little different, a little unique, and try to like go with who you think is going to do well this season compared to who everyone else thinks is going to do well.
So we're on the clock in a second. Well, actually, we're on the clock right now. So how do you feel about this? I was going to ask you about some stacking opportunities, but really don't have one with Terry McLaurin off the board now, having Jaden Daniels. Yeah. What do you think about this?
I like either RJ Harvey or Travis Hunter. Those are two guys that are rookies. They were draft winners, and then we've seen in the preseason their team has used them a ton. I expect huge things out of both players this year. Do you have a preference between one or the other?
I'd probably go Hunter. I really would. I would probably go Travis Hunter here because it opens the door for us to stack with Trevor Lawrence if we want to for our second quarterback selection. And as much as I like RJ Harvey, I don't know exactly what the offense is going to look like with Sean Payton right now. Sean Payton, he has leaned into sort of like force feeding certain players throughout the course of his head coaching career when he was with the Saints, but he's also been known to really diversify. And I think when you look at this running back room, I like RJ Harvey the most. I was a big RJ Harvey fan in this draft class. Everybody who watches and listens to PFF draft content knows that for sure. But I just don't know if he's really going to get the lion's share of the carries. And when you have a guy like, Audric Estime and some of the some vets in the room, like J.K. Dobbins is obviously there as well. Are those guys going to be the short yardage players? Are they going to, vulture a lot of those touchdowns that RJ Harvey might get a lot of the yards? And so I just think that there's things to think about. He's very talented. They could certainly lean into him, but I like the Travis Hunter pick a little bit more because he really is that most explosive offensive weapon that they have outside of Brian Thomas Jr. And of course, we get that stacking opportunity with Trevor Lawrence if we want it.
Yeah. So one thing I will note about stacking is like it should be a tiebreaker for you. You shouldn't like go out of your way to make it work. I've been looking at some of the top guys on our board, and if there are any opportunities, not just to stack them, but also get who their week 17 opponent is. The closest thing we have right now is Rome Odunze, who the Bears are playing the 49ers in week 17. We did get George Kittle, so that's an opportunity there. But if we want Rome Odunze over some of the other guys, DeAndre Swift also is there if we think the Bears have a chance of like winning that game, having a lead, relying on the run game, where San Francisco has to rely on the pass game. So Swift is the top guy on my board. We could consider doing that, but there's also Chris Olave, who we talked about earlier, that are Rome Odunze is probably our three options.
I would say Olave or Odunze are the two that I would go between, and I will leave that up to you and your expertise.
Because last time around we didn't get too much of the week 17 stuff, I think this time around we'll try to get a little bit more of that. So I went Odunze. In terms of just our lineup so far, we have a very balanced lineup. We've got 3 wide receivers, quarterback, tight end, running back. We need 1 running back and 1 flex spot for our starting lineup. And then something to keep in mind with best ball drafts in general is a lot of times if I am drafting a quarterback early or a tight end early in a normal redraft league, then I'm not worried so much about getting a backup quarterback or a backup tight end because I know I'm starting Jaden Daniels every week. I know I'm starting George Kittle every week.
Right.
But in a best ball draft, you want to make sure that you have some of those backup options because you get to put in your lineup whoever ends up scoring the most points that week. So while in your redraft league, your backup might score more than your starter here and there, and it just doesn't help you at all. In this, it does help you. So if George Kittle does have a bad week, or Daniels does have a bad week, then we have another quarterback there to have a better week. So I will try to have us get 3 quarterbacks, 3 tight ends today, even though in other leagues I would not normally do that. But we'll probably deprioritize them a little bit just so we get more running backs and more wide receivers.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of time here before we pick next. We've got 7 picks right now as I'm talking right now.
Yeah.
I'm honestly I'm looking at Baker Mayfield because Mayfield is somebody who I feel like Jaden Daniels, the floor is very high with him. I think he's going to score a lot of points every week. I think that certainly that rushing option, him having the ability to get those rushing touchdowns, gives him a pretty high floor as a quarterback. But on those weeks where maybe you're looking to play a quarterback that catches fire, I mean, you think of the offensive weapons that Mayfield has on that Buccaneers team, and I can't remember exactly where he finished last year with quarterback rankings, but man, this next year is just going to be even more confidence, especially when when Chris Godwin comes back. It's going to be Godwin, it's going to be Ibuka, it's going to be Mike Evans, and then when Jalen Millen hopefully eventually comes back, I know he's going through a neck injury that he's working through right now, and it's going to cost him a couple of games during the season. Like, it's just an embarrassment of riches that he has to throw to. So I wonder if that's somebody that maybe we think about because he's at least one of those quarterbacks where you get to say to yourself, when he has the 35-point game, because he might have a couple of them this year, boom, he's on our roster. And the rest of the time, we've obviously got Jaden Daniels, who's pretty good for us. What do you think about that?
Fair. Mayfield is someone that I don't find myself drafting too much, and I don't think it quite makes sense for us here just because there are so many quarterbacks we like. We talked earlier about the Trevor Lawrence, JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix. I think Baker Mayfield will outscore those players, but I don't know it'll be by all that much.
Yeah.
And we can get those other quarterbacks a lot later than now compared to some of the running backs. Like right now, the top 20 or so running backs are off the board. If we don't get a running back with one of these next 2 picks, then we might not end up with another top 30 running backs. So,
okay.
Because we want to get more running backs, more wide receivers, that's probably what I'm considering here. So we have Jerry Jeudy as my top wide receiver with Jordan Addison also there. Running back, I really like Jordan Mason this year. Jalen Warren's another one that we have. I'm probably leaning towards
Mason?
I'm leaning towards Mason. I'm just
Okay.
looking at the schedules a little bit, and I don't think anything's helping us out there. But Jordan Mason,
Good with
go
me.
into why he has always graded well with us. He was a top 6 fantasy running back when he was the starter with the San Francisco 49ers last season. The Vikings sound like they want to have a 2-man committee, both of them getting close to 50-50. Mason's the better runner. Aaron Jones is the better receiver. The Vikings offense, I think, is just going to be one of the best offenses this year. They did a lot to help their offensive line. A
Yeah.
chance JJ McCarthy is the best quarterback they've had in a long time. So I'm just really excited about what this offense can do. And I think Mason will be the one scoring a lot of those touchdowns because I think he'll get that short yardage and goal line work.
Yeah, and obviously we don't want to force it too much, but I do agree that running back will probably start to drop off a lot. So can we go to the running back tab and just
Sure.
see sort of what it looks like there? So we got Warren, we got Judkins. Krosky Merritt looked good, didn't he, in that
Yeah.
preseason game? I think that he is somebody that we definitely want to think about there. If we feel like the rushing attack for Washington's going to be good between him and Daniels, I think that that's something to consider. But man, yeah, it does. It really starts to drop off. I think after Judkins could get the volume for Cleveland. Warren obviously has been proven over the last couple of years. Then Krosky Merritt, if you want to try to get the home run hit of the young guy there. So we're 1 pick away. All 3 of these guys are on the board. What do you think here?
I would be fine with Warren here. I think out of the running backs, I do like Krosky Merritt a lot, but looking at his ADP right now,
Sure.
we
Yeah.
can hopefully get him a couple rounds later. We'll see. That's something you always have to consider is looking at the ADP and when players should be going off the board. So
Right.
especially like with us at 8, we have a couple picks in between our picks. So it's always good to keep in mind, okay, who's my opponent going to be picking? So like, I don't think anyone's going to be picking Krosky Merritt. Just to go back to this tab to see we got tight ends who we don't need right now. Godwin's probably going to miss the start of the season. We do have another Buccaneer, so I could be fine with Godwin with Jalen McMillan's injury, though. So I'm probably between Warren and Godwin.
I'd go Warren. I would,
Okay.
because I think that he's got some guaranteed work that we can
Yeah.
lean on, and I think that we feel good about him there. Godwin, obviously, I like a lot, but the injury that he's coming back from is a tough one, and obviously it's not like they have to force him out there and force feed him targets early on in the season, especially with how good Emeka Egbuka looks. So I think that you kind of factor that in there as well. Godwin will be a factor once he's fully healthy, but I think that Warren was probably the correct pick there. So.
Yeah, and I am a little bit more confident about Godwin this year in general, just knowing that Jalen McMillan is going to miss the first half of the season, knowing that in all normal three wide receiver sets, once Godwin's healthy, he should be on the field. It's not like he's going to be competing with Egbuka for the first half of the season in terms of playing time. Yeah, they'll compete for targets, but I think there's going to be plenty of targets to go around for all
Yeah.
three of those wide receivers.
Right. No, I agree. I agree. Is this where we start thinking about another tight end? Like, is this around the range with the tight ends on the board, how it looks? I don't know if you want to go to the tight end tab and just take a look.
Sure.
Obviously, we've got David Njoku right there, but how are you playing this second tight end here with after drafting George Kittle so early?
I'm probably still waiting a couple of rounds just because I expect Kittle to be our top scoring tight end for a lot of weeks. And when you
Hmm.
consider like our running backs, we got Jordan Mason and Jalen Warren, who are both in committees, who will both have some good weeks, some bad weeks in there. So
Hmm.
having more of those running backs is also good. And then our wide receivers, we generally went young with some of our wide receivers. We expect Travis Hunter to have a great year. We don't know exactly how he'll do, but all indications are he'll be great this year. We don't know that for sure.
Right.
Roma Dunze, we hope he steps up. It looks like he is a clear top two wide receiver in the offense at the very least for Chicago. From what we saw in the preseason, it looked good, but we can't always rely on how good people looked in the preseason for the regular season. So
Right.
I'm
Right.
probably still looking at running back, wide receiver, at least for our next two picks, maybe our next four picks at least. And then I'll start looking more at the quarterbacks and tight ends.
That's good. It's good to walk through that the way that we just did there. Okay, we can go back to the all tab then, and we can really just focus in on that running back and wide receiver spot. Obviously Chris Godwin is there. He's got an ADP around 110, so we're sort of around. Next pick is 104, so it's right around this range. I mean, Judkins. Do we think that he's going to get a heavy workload in Cleveland? Like, do they have a lot of? I feel like younger options there that they could go with, but it does feel like he could get the lion's share of a lot of those carries even as a rookie this year.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot at the end of the season because he missed all of training camp and
Right.
he's still working out his situation with the league and they're not signing his contract until that's done
Right.
because there's some hang up in the language. So I don't know when he will start practicing and he'll need to get some of that practice in before they start trusting him more for game action.
Good
So
point.
there's still concern of like when that happens, but I think later in the season he could definitely help us. Darnell Mooney is one of the top or top wide receiver outside of Godwin. I know he's had some health issues recently, but I think he can be a huge part of this offense. Penix likes throwing the ball deep more often, and that's what Mooney can do well. I know those three games where Penix was the starter last season, Mooney didn't see a ton of targets, but it sounds like they are relying on Mooney to step up. They really didn't address the wide receiver room at all this season, so they clearly trust Mooney. Also note the Falcons do play the Rams in Week 17, and we did get
Ooh,
Puka Nacua at the start,
nice.
so that also helps us. So that's
Nice.
part of why I'm thinking Mooney here.
All right. No, that sounds good to me. I agree. I think they're going to really want to open it up this year and certainly stretch the field. And you're right. How little that they address the wide receiver spot. I think they do have a lot of faith in Darnell Mooney in that regard. And so I like this pick, especially because this brings up a really good topic here as we've got another 8 picks before we're on the clock. Chasing those ceiling players, and in fantasy football, I think that you really have different ways that you could look at it. Are you chasing high floor guys or high ceiling guys? And in best ball, certainly the way that we have this wide receiver room set up already with Nakua and Hunter and Odunze, like you mentioned, we think those guys are going to be our top scorers every single week. But what we're doing now is we're trying to find those players who maybe they could just absolutely go off on a single week and now they're counting above one of those three guys. And I think that Darnell Mooney is a really good option there. So how different is chasing those high ceiling players in a best ball format compared to traditional fantasy football?
I think it's definitely a strategy that you have to consider. Jaden Reed is someone for the Packers who really comes to mind as well, along with a lot of the deep threats. And that Jaden Reed, like he only plays an 11 personnel. If the Packers are winning a game, can run the ball a lot, he's not going to see as much playing time. but we know he's capable of having those 100-yard games. He is a deep
Right.
threat out of the slot, which is pretty unique for him. So Reed is someone where in redraft, I'm not considering him very often because I don't know when I can trust starting him. In
Hmm.
this format, I can trust a player like that more often because I do get to take advantage of his big weeks.
All right, back on the clock. What are we thinking?
I kind of want to continue going wide receivers here because I
Okay.
think there's a lot of running backs that you can consider. Marvin Mims, I think, kind of fits what we were just talking about. Someone that we know is capable of making big plays, might not always work out. It does look like he's going to be a starter more this year, but he is someone that I'm excited to see
All right.
what he ends up doing.
All right. Well, do we run out of
We
time?
may have timed out. We got
Uh-oh.
Tucker Kraft because we timed out. So
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
what's up with that. But Tucker Kraft is someone that I am excited about at tight end at the very least. So that's nice to see. And the nice thing that they do is since you are able to upload your rankings like I did, instead of just picking the best player that they think, they pick the best player on our board. So that's something nice that you can
Okay.
do with this is you can upload your rankings. They'll get the best player if you do timeout like we just did. So if you are doing a best ball draft on DraftKings or any draft, I believe you can upload your rankings to make it easier for you to do your drafts.
Yep. Yep. All right. And Mims is still there. I mean, he's got to last 11 picks. I don't know if he's going to
That's
last
true.
11 picks. We'll see. We'll see. But
It's right around his ADP. Hopefully, no one else is excited
yeah,
about him as I
it's
am,
yeah,
but
we
we'll
might
see
be able
how
to
it
get there. But
goes.
I am excited about the Broncos offense this year. It's we were just previewing the Denver Broncos on the show yesterday when we were going through the AFC West and uh Bo Nix's season long, I think passing yard I think his betting line is right around 3,500. Like the projections are right around 3,500 for his passing yards. And I was saying, man, if he hits that, I feel like this team's going to be really good. And if he hits more than that, like if it's more in the 4,000, closer to the 4,000 number, then to me, the Broncos are a team that we're talking about the playoffs with them. We're talking about them potentially winning the division. And I think that Marvin Mims is one of those guys that sort of holds the key for that to be possible for them. So they know they're going to have to open it up a little bit more. And I think they're going to be confident there because Bo Nix, man, I think that people have underrated his arm strength for a long time. And yes, of course, he wants to take care of the football. He had a really low turnover worthy play rate last year, but I think they're looking to open it up there. And so whoever just picked Marvin Mims, you got a good one. And you got a good one.
Congratulations.
Obviously, they're like I said, they might be they're probably listening to the show. They're probably stream
Yeah.
sniping us right now. But hey, we appreciate you watching the show, whoever you are.
But yeah, and I think like a team like the Broncos, there's a couple of teams where like they knew they struggled at running back last year. They got running backs this year that they can be more confident in. They can start running the ball a little bit more, which should help the pass game and have running backs that they can throw to. The Raiders are another team that I was thinking, how much better is this offense going to be this year with Ashton Genty when they rotated four different guys at running back? Denver did a similar thing where they had at least three different guys, and whoever was fourth on the depth chart, they also liked at times. But now they have two new players at the top of their depth chart at running back.
Okay. All right, we're on the clock in 3 picks here. What do we think? We were talking about wide receiver. Now you got the running back tab up. What are we thinking here
Yeah,
for
I was
this one?
going back and forth between them. I've also looked at quarterback just to make sure that there's enough guys. So we're starting to run out of quarterbacks a little bit. So I'd also maybe consider a quarterback to stack with one of our receivers. I know we went with the Trevor Lawrence one last time, so he's someone near the top of our board. We
I'm not.
also could get Caleb Williams because we got Roma Dunze early
I,
as
I,
well.
I
So
I
either
was
one would be
I
fine.
was gonna say I'm kind of we're on the clock now. So if you want to take quarterback, go ahead. But I would go Caleb Williams honestly
Okay,
over Trevor Lawrence, and I can sort of explain that in a second.
sure.
So obviously, like you say, you don't want to bet too much on the preseason, right? You don't want to put too much stock in the preseason. However, Caleb looked incredibly confident, and the way that I look at it is, you look at the last 3 years of Ben Johnson as the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. They were top 10, if not top 5, in basically every category that you would want them to be: team PFF passing grade, EPA per play, and total scoring points, and the yards, the yards as well. So I think that it's just going to be another year where you look at so many weapons, a revamped offensive line. They're going to have to score a lot of points because 10 of their 17 games that they have this year are against teams that were in the top 10 last year when it comes to points per game. So they're going to have to hit the gas pedal. I think they're going to have a good defense, but they're going to have to hit the gas pedal. They're going to have to score a lot of points. I don't think that's going to be on the ground. I think that's going to be through the air. So I like the projection of Caleb Williams in this offense with Ben Johnson. I like the confidence that I've seen so far from him in the preseason. And of course, I like the stacking bonus that we have here with him and Roma Dunze.
Yeah, plus the Bears play the 49ers. We got George Kittle at tight end, so we got three players from that game. So hopefully Bears 49ers is high scoring in week 17.
Yep.
My only concern about Caleb Williams is I know they reworked the offensive line, but a lot of the guys they got are really good run blockers, not quite as good pass protectors. Ed Williams did take a lot of sacks last year, which some of that was on him, not just all on the offensive line. So still a little concerned about that, but I think he should be in store for a great season. Was also happy to pick him. I wasn't going to let you just say pick this player and me not like them. So
No, I would not expect you to do that as we're picking through your rankings here. So, okay, we're back on the clock. Running back, we see Krosky Merritt's at the top of the list for running backs. What do
kind
you
of,
think?
yeah.
All right. Okay.
I'm not sure if he'll last for us for another round,
I don't
and
think he
especially
will.
we were talking about wanting those high upside things. Like I know
Yeah.
people are worried about Austin Eckler potentially playing those early down. I think Austin Eckler is just going to stay that third down running back. I know early in his career he played plenty on early downs, but I think they want to stick him in that third down role. They also play him as a returner, so that also plays into it. I'm not too concerned about Eckler on early downs, so it's really just him and Chris Rodriguez, assuming they end up trading Brian Robinson, which
Hmm.
sounds like is going to happen, or they could even release him if they can't find a trade partner.
Hmm.
But Chris Rodriguez is the only other competition for that early down running back role in Washington. So I think that's his job to win. So
Yeah.
the offense should be scoring plenty of touchdowns. We also have Jaden Daniels. So whichever one of those two guys has scored the rushing touchdowns for them, we are set either way. So
Yep. I would agree. I would agree. Can you scroll down the screen a little bit
sure.
to just see how many slots we've got left here?
Yep.
Um,
So we have a number of slots left. We have two quarterbacks, four running backs, four wide receivers, two tight ends. So over the rest of this, I generally like to get three quarterbacks, six running backs, eight wide receivers, three tight ends. Just that is how it's kind of worked out in the past for those who have done well in this. So we'll probably want to get a quarterback, two more running backs, four more wide receivers, and one more tight end. So
okay.
probably like half of these picks, yeah, exactly half of these picks should be wide receivers going forward for us.
Okay. All right. Well, let's take a look at the wide receiver tab. We're on the clock in 5 picks here. I know we're not
Yeah.
forcing it too much with wide receiver. We don't have to pick him now because his ADP
Yeah.
is a little bit lower, but I am very intrigued by Deontay Thornton Jr. When you look at Geno Smith, he's had the highest deep passing grade in the NFL over the last 3 years. And Dante Thornton Jr. From Tennessee, who was their rookie, that's what he is. He is their vertical stretching wide receiver, and there's not really another one on the roster. So when they're going to look to throw it deep, when Chip Kelly's going to look to throw it deep as the offense coordinator there, they're going to be looking Thornton's way, in my opinion. So he might be one of those guys who, okay, maybe it's only 3 catches on the day, but it might be 3 catches for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like that's within the cards for him. And I think that when you look at the PFF data, you got to kind of consider that when you talk about guys that could hit a high ceiling. But what do you think about this group that's left? Anybody that really stands out to you?
Yeah, I think that would be a great pick for us. Like we were saying earlier with Jaden Reed as an example, but also deep threat wide receivers where in redraft, I don't know how much I can trust Thornton because if he doesn't catch those three passes
Right.
for 100 yards,
Right.
then you might not get anything that week in a redraft league. But in this, we get his good weeks. So I think he is someone that I like here. Jalen Royals, just because he might play that Rashee Rice role for whenever he gets suspended or however
Mhm.
long he gets suspended.
Mhm.
He's played a lot of those snaps in the slot in the preseason. So Royals is someone that I also like. His ADP is a bit lower, so we might be able to wait on him. So I'd probably go Thornton first and then maybe get Royals a little bit later. Just hopefully he still falls to us later, but
Okay. All right. Well, we were able to get Thornton, so we got Thornton on the squad as well. Two strong rookies, I think, in Bill Krosky Merritt. Not Corey wants to go by Bill now. So Bill Krosky Merritt and Deontay Thornton. I like that. How many more running backs do you think we need now that we're
probably two more running backs. I
just
also
2 more
just
running
want to
backs?
check quarterbacks quick just because I want to make sure we can get three. And not every team's going to be able to get three starting quarterbacks because there's only 32 in the league.
Hmm.
So quarterback is a position that I might consider just depending on how many, or probably not this pick. I'll probably wait for our following pick to look at quarterbacks again. But
Yeah, Stafford is the one that is very interesting there, right? Because he's so much
Yeah.
further down the list. I think the back injury is very concerning to me, even with him coming back to practice. But we do have Puka Nakua, and when Puka Nakua is going to go off, obviously it means that Matthew Stafford's going to go off. And when you look at the guys who are still left, if you want to get another legit quarterback option, he might be one of them, and he might be one of those where you're taking a swing, right? You're trying to just hit the highest ceiling you possibly can. Because do we have another quarterback? Am I forgetting?
We do want one more quarterback. We
Oh, right, we
did
got
get
Caleb.
Caleb
I forgot we had
Williams,
Caleb as well. So
but
okay.
also like we had one or two quarterbacks go off the pick right while you were saying that, so we might
Mhm.
not have people listed and taking our quarterbacks. I don't think Matthew Stafford would be available for us later, and I'm not sure we have anyone else who is still on the board that makes sense to stack with our guys. I know I talked about the Indianapolis one, but all of those Indianapolis wide receivers that I was talking about earlier is already off the board. So I think we'll just go Stafford here. We
Okay.
don't have to worry about quarterbacks the rest of the way.
Okay.
And we've stacked all of our quarterbacks. We have not stacked Jaden Daniels with a wide receiver or tight end yet. So
Right.
that might be
Right.
something to consider at some point.
I don't know.
Zach Ertz is gone. I assume Debo Samuel's gone. I could see us like, especially in one of those late rounds, looking at wide receiver there. There's a chance Terry McLaurin's contract situation doesn't get worked out. Noah Brown, we really haven't heard anything about his injury since he injured himself like 2 months ago.
Hmm.
So I think one of these younger wide receivers, like a Luke McCaffrey, I know he played primarily in the slot last year. He's been playing on the outside throughout the preseason. So
Hmm.
if either Noah Brown or Terry McLaurin's going to miss some time, then Luke McCaffrey is going to be the guy to step up at wide receiver.
Okay. All right. That's something interesting to consider there. So outside of the stacking formula, are you still honing in on Jalen Royals? I mean, I think there's two guys as well that are right there. I'm very curious to get your take on there with Xavier Legette and Quentin Johnson. Both of those two players were sort of high volume guys by default last year, and this year they're not. Right? The Panthers draft Tetro McMillan, the Chargers draft Keandre Lambert Smith. They have Trey Harris as well. So, what are your thoughts on those guys? Are those just kind of like, hey, high ceiling? You take a swing on them, maybe they catch a touchdown or two in a week, but other than that, it's tough to rely on the floor of those guys. What do you think about those two players?
Yeah, like I think both of them are in danger of losing some playing time this year with Jalen Coker with Carolina, since now they
Right?
are fighting for one spot. Someone just, oh no, I just scrolled down too far. That's Jalen Royals is still there for us. And then Quinn Johnston, like you said, with the rookies there. So I'm a little concerned about their playing time. They're both just young wide receivers who have shown talent before. So your hope there is that they continue to improve as players, which helps secure their playing time. And that improvement leads to them being a wide receiver that you can rely on more often. But right now, they're just guys who were early high draft picks that we hope work out and are still young enough where they could work out. We just haven't quite seen it yet.
Okay. All right. Jalen Royals is still on the board here if you feel good about him. I mean, his
Yeah,
ADP is lower, but what do you think?
just checking the running backs. I think the running backs, we can get some of them later as well. So I'm
Yeah.
going to go with Royals anyway, just to make
Okay.
sure that we don't miss out on him. We talked about him a bit. So now we have 5 picks left. We'll want two running backs, two wide receivers, and a tight end with
And a
those
tight
picks.
and a tight end. Okay. Okay. I was just looking at the bottom of that list there. I think we're a little bit of a ways away from having to pick him, but Torrey Horton might be a sneaky guy this year. Just because of how I think sure-handed he was when he was at Colorado State. I just think he's a really good
Yeah.
football player. So he's just a sneaky player, I think, to pay attention to a little bit there. All right, top of the list. Um,
Just
tight ends
checking tight
here.
ends
Yeah,
because we
yeah.
haven't checked them in a while. But
Anybody standing out for you?
um, not too much. I'd probably look to stack a tight end with one of our quarterbacks. Zach Ertz is gone. Maybe Cole Kmet, because it does look like Cole Kmet's still going to see a significant amount of playing time, even with Colston Loveland there.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
then either of the Rams tight ends are someone to consider late. So I'd probably wait a little bit at tight end because the three guys I just mentioned should still be on the board in a little bit from now.
Okay.
A couple of the wide receiver options, we have not looked at running back in a while. Um, if we want to go for some high upside guys, if something happens to Derrick Henry, I think Keaton Mitchell is going to do great. I could
Uh,
also see
Same with
Kyle with Chicago. We don't know who's going to be that second running back there, but it looks
yeah,
like he could be the guy. And that they did a ton to that offensive line. So I'd probably lean one of these two players with this pick.
yeah. I think I like Mitchell the
Okay.
most. I think he makes the most sense. Again, like
Yeah.
you're just trying to hit the home run there. So I think I like Mitchell the most.
Yeah, and I could also see a case where like the Ravens are winning a lot of games, therefore they don't need Derrick Henry to do a lot in the second half of games. They want him fresh for the playoffs anyway. He's getting up there in age. I think any kind of like competitive game that the Ravens have, it's still going to be Derrick Henry the whole way as their early down
Right.
back. But I think there could be a number of games where Keaton Mitchell is getting a number of carries in the second half, and that could lead to some decent fantasy production.
I agree. I agree. And that's the point of the draft, right? I mean, like that's the point of the draft that we're in here. We're looking for those high ceiling guys. We're trying to come up with formulas. And that's what we like to do at PFF here when we look at the data. Like it's not just like, oh, okay, like I think that these projections are kind of good. Like I like this player overall. You got to think about storylines, right? The storyline has to make sense. You've got to be able to sort of convince yourselves or think of a reality where you go, okay, yeah, I like this football player, but what's his path to playing time? What's his path to volume? How valuable can he be? And we have seen Keaton Mitchell be a very good player when he's gotten the opportunity. And so right off the bat, he's going to get it? No, but that's why his ADP is a little bit lower. And like you said, if anything happens to Derrick Henry, I think they feel pretty good about putting him in the lineup and giving him the lion's share of the carries. So all of a sudden, that could be a very, very valuable running back for us, especially because we didn't stack them early in this draft. So just things to consider, things that we're kind of talking through as we're looking at a lot of these strategies here. So we've got one more running back, two more wide receivers, and a tight end that we are going with here. I feel like we're coming to the conclusion that tight end might be the last pick for us here. I wonder if we'll go wide receiver next. It kind of feels like that might be the sweet spot, but you're still on the
I'm
running back
leaning
tab. You
towards a
see anybody?
running back just because there's these top couple of guys that I'm excited about. Isaiah Davis and Taj Brooks also fit that category. And then once you scroll down at running back, you start getting to guys that are either receiving running backs or fighting for that second spot or potentially that third spot where
Mm-mm.
someone like Taj Brooks, if something were to happen to Chase Brown, then I think Taj Brooks would be that clear lead running back for Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen whoever's that lead running back for Cincinnati score a ton of fantasy points. Isaiah Davis is also someone who sticks out for me. He was their third down back in their first preseason game. I would not be surprised if Breece Hall ends up getting traded at some point of time, in which case Isaiah Davis is splitting the backfield with Braylon Allen. So I think one of these top four running backs I want to make sure we get on the roster, and then we can focus more on the wide receivers and tight ends.
I'd want Kyle Monungai here, and the
Okay.
reason why is just going back to God, and here we are. We're two picks away. I'm talking about a guy. He's next on the list. He's gonna get sniped. I know it's gonna happen,
Uh,
but I like Kyle Monungai a lot because he is going to thank you finally to bring him on the team. All right, that's for everybody that might have not been looking at the screen. We actually finally got the guy that we were actually talking about and going on a rant about. But the reason why I like him is because yeah, it's the Andre Swift show there to start things out, but it might not be for the entire season. And the thing about Kyle Monungai that I loved, that I consistently heard throughout the draft cycle, is he is going to be a coach's favorite type of a player. And if DeAndre Swift maybe is not efficient enough, explosive enough, just whatever that the Bears might not want him to be, you could see the Bears coaching staff being like, let's give this guy a shot. He does what we ask him to do. He was one of, if not the best pass protector that we had from the running back room this past draft. He never fumbles the football. And sure, he's not the fastest guy in the world, but again, he's going to get out there. That's almost like his path to playing time sounds a lot like Kyron Williams. When Kyron Williams was coming out and kind of when he was making a name for himself with the Rams, he was of that same label. Didn't fumble the football, really great pass protector, did everything the coaches asked of him. He's not the best athlete in the world, but now he's their starting running back because of how reliable he is. I could see that reality manifesting with a guy like Kyle Monungai from everything that I know about him. So that's why I like that we have him on the team, and I think that there is a good reality that we can manifest here with him, potentially getting a heavier workload than expected with the Chicago Bears. Back on the clock. What are we thinking?
So yeah, what I've done is I filtered to the three quarterbacks that we have. We filtered to those teams. You can do that right here in the teams filter.
Love it.
Tutu Atwell stands out because we already have a couple Rams, and I think Tutu Atwell fits that category of he's not going to see consistent targets, but he's capable of making some big plays. So
yeah, go ahead.
Go with Atwell there. And
I
then
like I like Cole Kmet of the guys that are left. Man. Ferguson though. I do like
We've
Ferguson
got a
as well.
couple Rams as well, though. So
Oh yeah.
also want to filter to the three teams that our players are playing. So I'm going to go
Mm,
through that just to at least consider some of those guys. So
okay.
the
All right.
Commanders are playing the Cowboys, the Rams are playing the Falcons
In week 17, you're saying?
in week 17, yes.
Yes. Yeah. So that
And
final
then
matchup
the
that's very
Bears
important.
are playing the 49ers. So I want to filter to those players as well, just to see who's available. That added Miles Sanders to the top, and then a lot of the guys, at least in terms of my rankings, were the guys that were already there. Maybe a
Hmm.
Devontae Turpin, just because he's that like home run hitter as well, someone that
Right.
we know isn't going to see a ton of targets every single week, but I think he's someone who could have some really big games at some point in the season. And he has sat out with the starters the first two preseason weeks, so it seems like he is that pretty clear wide receiver three on the team, which he hasn't been in the past.
Yeah. I actually don't mind. I'm just thinking about the tight ends, like the last tight end pick that we have here. I think I'm
Okay.
leaning Cole Kmet for that. I
Okay.
really
Yeah.
am because from what we saw in the preseason, now again, very small sample size, it feels as though they want Colson Loveland to be that true sort of move X offensive weapon type of tight end for them who can play on the line of scrimmage as an X. He can play in the slot. He can play as a wingback out of the backfield. And then Cole Kmet is going to be that middle of the field tight end. Like he is going to be that deep over type of player, the guy who's going to be between 10 and 20 yards down the field, but over the middle of the field. That often becomes the tight end that you're also looking towards when it comes to the red zone as well. So I think they'll get creative with everybody, but I like Cole Kmet as a red zone target and as a tough contested catch guy down the middle of the field. So I think I like him the most over Ferguson. Ferguson's tempting though, because I know in the pre-draft process how in the Rams were on the tight end position. They want to emphasize tight end more than they have been able to in the past, but I just don't know how many targets he's going to get.
Yeah.
That's
And
my
like
thoughts there.
we're creating scenarios. We already got Puka Nacua. We already got Tutu Atwell. So we want to live in a world where those are the two that are getting a lot of the targets. So I am perfectly fine getting Cole Kmet as our
Okay.
last tight end here.
And then it's
And
wide
then
receiver,
we
right?
just have one last pick and we want to get wide receiver with that pick.
All right.
I am concerned about Noah Brown and his injury. And I'm guessing at least some people have picked a decent amount of Noah Brown. I don't think a lot of people are picking Luke McCaffrey, even though Luke McCaffrey does have a slightly earlier ADP. So I guess some people are picking Luke McCaffrey compared to Noah Brown, but I'm probably leaning one of those, especially because our top quarterback was Jaden Daniels, and we do not have a Washington receiver yet.
Okay. All right. If stacking is a difference maker, like you said, when we kind of get to this point in the draft, I don't mind it. I mean, Luke McCaffrey, I think has a long path to playing time just overall when you look at the roster. But like you said, situationally, maybe it's something that could be beneficial for us at the beginning of the season with some unknown as they're kind of figuring it out. And obviously, they drafted the guy for a reason. So I don't mind Luke McCaffrey there. Turpin is probably the other player that I would consider here, just because of like what you said, sort of just that special teams bonus with him and the fact that he is that home run hitter for them, whether it's vertical routes or specifically a lot of yards after catch opportunities. Like they're going to want to put that guy in a position where he can maximize his speed. So I would be okay with either of those players, Turpin
Fair,
or
like,
McCaffrey.
yeah, like McCaffrey, based on preseason usage, he's the clear number four wide receiver on the team. He's,
Mhm.
oh, based on when they take him out of the game. And I'm just concerned about Noah Brown because we haven't heard a thing about him in the last 2 months.
Which is
So, like,
always a bad thing. Like
yeah.
no updates is not good when it comes to
Mhm.
injuries. So I'm okay with this.
Which,
I'm okay
like,
with
the
this.
good news is he hasn't been placed on injured reserve yet, so he's not like
Sure.
guaranteed out for the season or anything. But there's a couple of those guys, like Joe Mixon, we haven't really heard much of in a while. So he's another one of those complete wild cards for fantasy of like, we don't know when to pick Joe Mixon. We also don't know when to pick the other Houston running backs because anything can happen. And all it takes is one post on social media, and all of a sudden, people's ADPs are going to wildly go one
Right.
direction or another. So,
That is how it goes. Before we take a look at our final roster that we drafted here, shout out to our friends over at DraftKings. It's a lot of fun to do. It's a great platform to draft from. Obviously, like Nathan said, you could update your rankings. You could put those in there. You could put anybody else's rankings in there. And so it's a really fun way. It's a new way to sort of approach the fantasy football game. If you've never played best ball before, look into it. Check it out. They've got all different sorts of pools and prizes that you could win. Obviously, the $15 million one is kind of the one that we were talking about a lot here today. But they've got a lot of different pools that you could check out, a lot of different entries that you can make, a lot of different entry points with how much money it takes to get into a certain pool. And so just check it out. It's a lot of fun. You will be able to find the right pool for you. So check out DraftKings, download their app, go to their .com, use all this great stuff. But it's a lot of fun. It just makes the football season a lot more fun because we all obviously have teams that we are diehards for, that we absolutely love, that we want for the wins and losses. But there's a lot of games that happen every single week, and we're big football fans. And when you have some guys that you draft and you get to root for, it makes it a lot of fun. So how do you feel about this draft overall, Nate? Because it feels like we didn't get the strongest stacking opportunities. Like, I feel like we focused on it a little bit more and we hit it on a little bit more at the top in the last draft that we did when we were drafted 12th overall. 8th, I think it's sometimes tougher when the closer you are to the middle of the draft and the more picks you have in between your selections. It gets harder to say, okay, I have the ability to stack these two players because there's a little bit more out of your control. But what do you think about this lineup that we got here, picking at number 8 and maybe not having as many stacking at the very top of the draft? Because it feels very even. It feels very it feels like it's just very like spread out, the talent between all the different positions.
Yeah, so I am happy with how this one went, even though we didn't have that one clear early stack, but we were able to stack our quarterbacks with our receivers. Like Caleb Williams is not an early round guy you have to get at quarterback, but he is someone that we both said we think he has that top 10 potential. And we also think Rome Odunze has a lot of potential. So we were able to get a good stack there. We were able to get those Rams, and we were able to get guys later in the rounds. I'm also, something that I like about DraftKings and their best ball is like, because this is so many rounds and we're getting so many players, like I'm not getting Luke McCaffrey in other drafts I'm doing, and he is someone that I'm excited about.
Sure.
And this is the kind of draft where I can actually get excited about him because we were able to pick him. So now I can be more excited about him this year. And like Cole Kmet as well, someone that you're not getting him in a traditional redraft format. You're not getting him in other formats where you're not drafting as many rounds, but you can look at these players who, like you said, there's that path to him having a good season and scoring a decent amount of touchdowns. And we're able to get those guys where you can't get them in other drafts.
Simply put, best ball is a great way to enjoy the NFL season even more. Shout out to Nate for all of his expertise and his rankings. I appreciate you, man. Doing these best ball live drafts with you has been a lot of fun the last couple of times that we've been able to do that. I've learned a ton. As somebody who hasn't played best ball a ton, I've been able to learn a ton, and this has been a lot of fun to get to do with you. Shout out to everybody who's watched these last two best balls. Good luck to everybody as you are getting your best ball teams in there as the season is very close. Go check out DraftKings, find the pool that is right for you, or maybe a couple, and check it out and get in on the best ball fun, because that's what it is. It's a ton of fun. For Nathan Jahnke, I'm Trevor Sikkema, saying thank you guys so much once again for watching this live best ball draft. We will see you guys next time.